Wasting time should be the greatest sin in your mind. For me, this came naturally. I naturally had that seed in myself, that spark, that I realized that this life was precious, and my time that I have is precious. And what's the biggest tragedy for me, what would be the biggest tragedy is if I ended up, for the majority of my life to be renting out my time doing something I don't want to do, which is why one of my biggest life goals is to escape wage slavery altogether. Because for me, it is most important that my time is well spent, and I'm not just trading it away such that I can survive a day longer. Why live at all? For me, I remember several jobs I've worked. I've worked, probably about 24 different kinds of jobs at this point in my life. And, and that's just kind of how it went. They were seasonal, they were quick jobs, whatever, right? I've worked over about 24 jobs, And what I've noticed in all of them is that I was always finding ways to use my time the way I liked it, right? I was always trying to carry a journal with me and write down my thoughts as I was thinking and doing my work, or it really depended on the job, right? Some jobs you weren't doing anything, so you could really just focus on doing whatever. Other jobs you couldn't do that. But I just remember any time that I would just be actually sacrificing my mind towards doing a task, I always felt something wrong with that. I'm not afraid of hard work. Don't get me wrong. I can work really hard, and I'm okay with that. And I prefer to work hard because if you're kind of just doing nothing, because I've done a lot of those do nothing jobs as well, that sucks, right? But my point is that when I'm focusing my mind on something that I don't want to focus on, and I'm literally just trading my time, right? I notice part of my soul leaves me. I'm wasting my time, and this carries over not just in work life, right? But of course, this carries over in my home life, in my everyday life when I'm just living day to day, right? For me, if I'm not focusing on a project, if I'm not making something, if I'm not training a skill, if I'm not working on some project that's going to get me out of wage slavery every day, if I'm not working out to give my body the health it needs and not feeding my body the food it needs, just if I'm not doing all of it, then I feel like I've committed a sin, because the greatest sin in my mind is wasting my time, because we have such little time left. We got such little time here to accomplish what we want. With how life works, it takes a long time to create something very valuable. And to waste any of that time is to take away from that value that you could create for yourself and create for the world. It's funny too, because not many people act with this philosophy. Nobody thinks this way. And people might say they think this way, but they don't. Because your thoughts, your actions is the true reflection of your thoughts, right? And if you're not, trying to create something, if you're not trying to create a better tomorrow, if you're not invested in some form of delayed gratification outside of your work, My question is like, what the hell are you living for? What are you living for? It's a disappointment for me to grow up around people that are just, Netflixing on the couch all day, and they're just wasting their time. They're just fucking stalling the clock till they're dead. Some people will say, it's like they're stabbing God in the heart. I'm a little more brutal. I feel like when you treat your life like that, where you're just wasting away and you're just punching in the clock, going to work, coming home, Netflixing, eating some terrible food and then doing it all over the next day, you're fucking shitting in God's mouth. That's how I like to think about it, because that's how much I believe life is a gift. And when you're just disrespecting your life like that, you're disrespecting reality like that. Why are you even living at all? Why? Like, if you're not challenging yourself, if you're not making, little games out of reality, because there's nothing to do, reality check, there's nothing to do. Same with like any video game. What makes a game fun, what makes a video game playable is like if there's challenges in it. You have to create games. And so with, your life, you have to make little goals for yourself. You have to have personal development goals. You got to set like milestones. Like, so for me, like I want to write a best-selling book. I want to eventually have a, million+ subscriber YouTube channel pulling in millions of views. Right? These are goals that makes life interesting for me. I want to be ripped, like completely ripped, right? I'm already looking pretty good now. I'm just because I'm working out every day, right? I want to build the character. That's another thing, a challenge I want for myself. I want to build a character of one of those self-actualizer motivational individuals, like a David Goggins, a Wes Watsons, even the character of like a Leo Gira or a Wayne Dyer, right? Someone that just trained a lot into becoming the person that they came here to be. I feel like if you're not challenging yourself, and if you're not using your time right, then you've lost touch. You've lost touch of what's most important here. Life is something to not necessarily be taken seriously. However, it has to be played with utmost seriousness through your actions. That's the paradox of it, right? And it's a sin if you're just wasting your time. And if it's not a sin in your mind right now, then I would really give yourself a wake-up call, Visit a graveyard, visit a crematorium, like realize you're gonna be dead. And like, do you want to finish your life being like, well, that was it? Was that it? Or do you want to live a life where you're so in tune with the spirituality of life, where you really get the depth out of something, where you can really connect with the essence of life, the essence of consciousness? This is something that is earned through massive amounts of effort. And you can't take life for granted in any day. You have to put in that action. When you find yourself in a rut, you have to get yourself back on that horse. I like to call it back on the horse, get back on the horse-ism. Just constantly be ready to get back on the horse again and again because you demand more and you want to make this life worthwhile. It's your choice. Are you going to use your time right? It's up to you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.